Here in section 5.6, we're going to take a look at global variables and global constants. And especially in Python, they're very similar. And you'll see that we have to do a little bit of simulation here with constants. And I know we've used constants before, but we're referring to them as global constants with in terms of functions. You didn't get to see that. But let's take a look at variables very quickly. And so global variables, something that you've got create an assignment statement. So something that's written outside of all the functions, typically at the top. And it can be accessed by any statement in the program file, including within a function. Okay, so if a function needs to assign a value to a global function, it has to be redeclared in the function. So here's the way this works. You're going to use the keyword global, and then you'll have the variable name listed here, and then it will let you modify it. So let's take a look at how this works with global one, okay, in this particular program. So here we are. We have our global variable my value, and it's equal to 10. Notice it's above main. It's not defined in main or set up in main here. So we've got main being defined. We've got show value being defined, and let's take a look at how that works. So my value being set up here. You see global listed. Here's our my value set up, the variable name set up. The value to 10 is assigned to it, and we've got main and show value. And then now we're going to call main. So main just simply goes in, calls show value, and sends it down here. Nothing being passed in, but because it was defined up here as a global variable, this will find, boom, our value of 10 and refer to it through my value. So nothing was passed in here. It's not defined inside the function, but this is the way that you can get this to work. Okay, and this is set up as a variable. Okay, which is a no-no. So let's take a look at another one real quick. This particular one is the global 2. So that's this link right here. And when we come in here, same kind of a thing, but this one has a little bit more to it, so you can see sort of how it works. Okay, so if we wanted to redefine it. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so there we go. So we'd have to redeclare it as we go through. So we have number equals 0, so we can set that up, number equals 0. And then now we're going to define main, define show number, call main, and then here we go. Global number has been set here. So now we're redeclaring it, and we have to enter a number of whatever, 45. And I hit submit. Now it has changed from 0, and I can click next again and show number as I go into the function, not being passed into it, but it will reference that new global variable that you just changed. So we'll print that out. Okay, when it goes back into main, it will print also there the new number. So by using global here, and you can see it just really quickly, here's our reserved word here, keyword here, global. It lets you redefine it. Okay, a couple of things that you want to avoid with this and some of the reasons why. Let's just take a look at a couple. If you are using global variables, not constants, global variables, makes your debugging difficult and the program hard to understand. If you're redeclaring the value inside multiple functions, then you're not quite sure what the value is as you're looking at the program and going through it. So you have to be really careful of that. Another thing is if you have a particular function that you want to copy out of a program and paste into another program, it makes it hard to transfer because you have global variables that are dependent on those values. So on those, your function is dependent on those. So you have to be really careful of that. All right. So a couple reasons why to sort of avoid that. And let's take a look at a constant though. And I know we've used constants before, but let's look at a global constant. And this is fine to do. And you'll typically see it used with something like you'll see in retirement pay in just a second. But in this one, we're simulating. Remember in Python, we're using it in all caps to simulate a constant, but we don't have a constant type. So we're just simulating it like you'd see in other languages. So you'll see all caps. You're not redeclaring it. It's just at one place, typically at the top of the code, or defined someplace else. But typically you'll see at the top, and you go through. So let's take a look at retirement. So here's that retirement code, and I shrunk it down so it fit on the screen a little bit better. But here is our all caps set up with a constant. It's outside of main above, and we're defining it 0.05, and we're going to use this contribution rate in both functions. You'll see it here and here. So it's not being redefined. It's not being redeclared, I mean, sorry. And we're going to use it as it bounces through the programs. You'll see it's used. So you can step through and you'll see, let me go here and visualize real quick. And I'm going to click next. And it's going to walk through. There's my global rate. There's main. There's show bonus coming in. Now I'm pulling this in here and we're running this. So it's going to ask me for, what is my whatever gross pay for this particular one. So I don't know. We'll say whatever 45,000. I don't know. Well, that sounds like a good one. And then amount of bonuses. I don't know, 500. And as it goes into this, I'm going to say next, and it's going to walk through here and set this all up. So notice it used my contribution rate to figure that out. And I'm stepping through again. Oops, scroll up so you can see the actual print statement there. And then I'm going to keep going here. It's going to go into the bonus area. And it figured that little piece out too. So contrib, you see right there. It's calculated that based on our contribution rate. And I'm going to go ahead and keep just kind of walking through so you can see it. There's my 25. And we're all set. Okay, so when we're taking a look at these and you're bouncing through this code, you'll notice that this used there. It's not changed anymore. So that's our global constant. Okay, so anyway, so constant's okay. Just make sure you're not having to change it later on in here. If it is, it becomes more of a variable, and you have to avoid that. Okay, so but global constants with things like this, sales tax rates, those kinds of things are typically used as a global constant. Okay.